Hello, this is Isaac Lundgren. Today I'm going to cover a few things for the Adventure Creator software game toolkit for Unity game engine. And it's a few things that weren't covered in my original tutorial video or in any of the subsequent videos that I've produced. I think a few of them are covered in some of the, at least for sure in the manual. Maybe not as many videos for these subjects, so I'm going to combine quite a few things today. We'll talk about inventory, a little bit about custom animations. We'll talk about action lists, custom menus, custom cursors, variables, their importance in the game and how we can add them specifically using Adventure Creator, and a little bit about conversations and dialogue. So let's get started. First with inventory. So we've got a nice scene here. If you followed along with my original tutorial, you were able to add your scene. If you followed my background animation tutorial, maybe you've added some additional background animations to your scene. Now we're ready to sort of interact with the environment and be able to pick up objects as well. Oh, another thing, sorry, we added in the other tutorial was being able to travel between scenes. So we have that in my previous tutorial as well. So if you're looking for any of that, just back up, go to the previous tutorial, and get yourself caught up. And now we're ready to move on to a few of the new things. So starting with inventory. So I will open this background object in my graphics application. So I'm clicking on the background object. I can take a look over here in the game inspector window, and I can see what graphic it's connected to. So here's the graphic that I have down here. And you can just double click right in this space to have it open in your graphics application. So my graphics application is opening, and here it comes. So a convenient way to add an inventory item into your scene is to open the background that you'd like to add it on, create a new layer, and you can draw your object right into the scene where you want to put it. So I don't really need a shell for this, but I'm going to use a shell for the tutorial. So I'm just choosing my color for the outline of the shell. And I'll make it slightly bigger than I need it, but I want to make sure it's going to kind of blend nicely in this background. I'll try that again, about like this. Okay. So it's a bit of an art tutorial as well. If you're not interested in this part, you can just skip ahead to where this is finished. Okay, I'm just created a new layer, and I'm putting it underneath my line so that I can add the paint underneath. Select a different brush here, and now, we don't want to save it over the background because we want to be able to take the shell from the background. It doesn't need to be a part of the background. So here is a quick tip. If you're using Photoshop, you can trim edges. If you forget where trim is, just type it into help. Trim. It's under image trim. You can choose all the sides. Click OK, and we've got a nice small object here. All we have to do is erase the background. Now, do not save this because it's going to overwrite your original image you need to save as. So I'm doing a save as here, and I will save it directly into the folder. Let's see, just call it shell_1. I'm going to save it right back into the folder that I'm working out of in Unity. So I'll come back into Unity. And this is the folder that my background was in, and here's my new shell. I just need to get rid of the white by changing it from default to Sprite 2D and UI, and then it will recognize the white. Don't forget to click Apply. And the shell is ready. I'm going to drop this shell in. This is an enormous shell. We don't need it quite so enormous. So I'm going to shrink it down. If you don't have the scale options available, click here. You can hold down Shift key to constrain the proportions. And that fits it in our scene pretty well. And I think I'll just tuck it away up here. And that is a good location for it. Let's see how that looks in our scene. Okay, very nice. We've got it up here. Okay, so at this point, it's interacting just fine. She can walk over it. It's a small object, not a big deal. But it is on layer 0 in my scene, and I think so is the background. Let's see, the background. Oh, -5. Okay, we're good. Layer 0 is fine for the shell. All right, now we want her to be able to interact with the object. So we'll put a little bit of a hotspot over that. So come into your game editor window. If you don't have that, come to Adventure Creator, Editor's Game Editor. But if you've made it this far, I'm almost positive you'll have your game editor window available right over here. Next, I will come into Hotspots. Click on Hotspot. I'll give it a name. Hotspot shell. Add new. And actually, I'm going to check this box, and it will position it over the shell. Or it should. Let's try it. Ah, there it is. Almost perfect. Okay, I'm just going to edit that slightly. Okay, hotspot shell. Clicking on the hotspot, coming into the inspector, tapping on Edit Collider, and I can reposition my collider. If your hotspot ended up somewhere not in the correct place, just move it. Tap this tool here and you can move your hotspot to put it over the shell. This is going to tell our character that there is something here that you can interact with. Otherwise, it's just part of the scenery, like the fog or the ocean at this point. Okay, so now we can click on the hotspot and we can create some interactions with it. So first thing to look for, player action. Right now it's set to walk to marker, which is great, but we don't have a marker for that area, so let's add one. Game editor, marker 2D, and I'll call it marker shell. Add new. So it's showing up in my markers now. And I'll put this marker here, and let's rotate it so she can face the marker. Yay. All right, that's good. Clicking back on the hotspot now, making sure it's selected. Background selected somewhere in there. Okay, hotspot. There we go. Back to the inspector. Walk to marker. Right now it says none. Just grab your marker shell and drag it in. Now notice, I didn't click on my shell and then drag it in. If I do, that window I just had here disappears. Make sure your hotspot is selected and just simultaneously click and drag and move that to the walk to marker. Done. Easy. Okay, now the cursor, I think let's give her a look interaction first. So look at interaction. Oops. Put it back up there. Okay. So right now the interaction is empty. I'm going to tap on create. And this is going to create a script file that we can manipulate so that she can do something with the shell. Right now, I'm going to tap in here. It shows up over here under interactions. I'm going to just edit that name slightly. I'll call it shell look at so we know what it's talking about. Then I will tap on this little button here and it pulls up, I have it on a separate screen so I'm going to bring it down here. It pulls up the action list editor. So here's where we're going to create our interaction. So this will be first to look at the shell. So I always like to leave this one blank in case I need to add something at the start of my action. It's just force of habit, so I'll bring this up here for a second one. Okay, now, character, dialogue, or actually, no, dialogue. Not character dialogue, just dialogue. So I'm choosing from the list dialogue. Play speech. It's a player line and the text. There appears to to be a small shell in the sand. I'm going to think about the particular voice and way of speech of your character. Of course, you know those things. All right. And that's all we need. I'll move this out of the way again. Oops. Let's test it out. So she should walk to this marker and say the line. So I'm going to hover my mouse over there. There's the I. Tap the shell. She's walking over. Oh, hold on. I'm going to pause. I want her to turn and face the object. Okay, back to the hotspot. Face after moving. All right. I usually don't like cutscene while moving because that means that the player can't click away. Like if you accidentally click on the shell, you have to wait for the whole interaction. I usually leave that off, and then they can click away in case they change their mind. If there's something really important, then I probably won't allow them to click away. Okay. Try it out again. Eyeball on the shell. She's turning and facing. There appears to be a small shell in the sand. Okay, now, if I want a separate interaction for you to click on it again and have her pick it up separately, I could come over here. Let's see, click on the hotspot, and I'm in the use interaction. I could click over here again and create a second use interaction. Or I could use this separate examine interaction, or I could put this interaction in the examine. You know, I could flip those. Or I could just continue the interaction that I've already started. So I've got the hotspot. I'm clicking on my interaction. I'm clicking on the action list editor. I'll bring that window back down so we can see it here. Oops, let me try that again. So now, how do we get this shell in our inventory? So you noticed I have my inventory set up to where it shows up on the bottom here. I've got this little bag. And I've got some inventory available in here. The blade in various states. She's not actually going to have 3 blades. That's just, I've just got those in there for some testing purposes. All right. So we want it to pop up into our inventory. Right now, this shell does not actually exist as an inventory item. It's just an object placed onto the background, and we happen to be able to interact with it. So we are going to first allow this shell to be an inventory item. Okay, first step, game editor. This is our inventory segment. There is an inventory sub area in here. I don't know if this is a tab or what, sort of functions like a tab. I'm clicking on inventory down here. These are the inventory items I already have in my game. So notice there's 2 ways to scroll. You have this longer scroll bar that gives you the main window here, and then if you have quite a bit of inventory items, you have a separate scroll item in here already. So let's create a new item. Just click on this button here, create new item. Easy as that. We'll call this item shell, and let's carry it on start so that you can see it in the inventory, just so you can see that it will be there. We don't need to carry multiple. This is a unique shell. I don't want her to have 5 of the same shell. And we need a graphic. So we're going to find our shell graphic. If you've misplaced it, by the way, there's this amazing search feature down here that you can just type in shell, and here is our shell. Main graphic, drop it in. I'm also going to put this as the cursor, so the cursor will change to this graphic. I think that'll be good enough. Okay, well, let's test that out and see if it showed up in our inventory here. All right, here it is, but that is actually too big. So we need to shrink that out down. I don't like that it's bigger than a lasso or a lantern, all right? So you can come over here, and we have the size function. So while the game is playing, you can test the size. I'll try 0.03. Let's see if that will allow me. Maybe click away a little bit. Is that going to allow me to shrink it down? Maybe not. Maybe that only affects the cursor. Okay, that size is for the cursor only. Okay, we're stuck with this giant size, but I'll show you how to shrink it down. All right, so I want the cursor to be bigger because that's kind of small for a cursor. Let's try 0.04 again. A little bigger. Let's try 0.06. That's good enough. All right. So now she can at least hold the item. It is larger than life, but it's more visible for the player. Okay, I can put it back in here. And I don't like how that grows. So we're going to shrink it down. So here's what we're going to do for that. We'll come back to the original graphic. I'm going to double click here. It's opened up here. And just give it a border around the edge. So I am using the crop tool. I'm holding down the Option key and Shift key, and I'm coming to one corner, and this is expanding every edge at the same time. And we'll shrink it down about that much. Now, this isn't actually, let's see here. This isn't actually changing the size of the resolution. I'm just adding some empty space around it, like that. So I'm just going to save that right over where it came from. So I'll go to File, Save. It shouldn't affect this size since I didn't actually change the size. I just added a border. So I just wanted to keep an eye on that shell and see if it changed. Nope, it's fine. But you'll notice that in here under my main graphic, there is a space around the shell now. So that turned out pretty nice. All right, so I'm going to check back into my inventory in the game and see how that functioned and see if it's how I want it now. That's a little better. That's a little roomier. It's not so ridiculous. Okay, I could possibly shrink it down, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that how it is. All right. Now, we want to get rid of it out of here because she didn't actually pick it up yet. So I'm going to quit out of the game, and I will uncheck Carry on Start. So now, I just want to show you that she really doesn't have it. It's no longer in here. I'm going to close that again, and now we will allow her to carry it on Start. So we'll come back here. Hotspot, Inspector, Interaction. I'm going to pull it up. And we're just going to combine those interactions all into one, just for convenience sake. So she's going to say, there appears to be a small shell in the sand. Then we want her to pick it up. So if you haven't made custom animations yet for your character to be able to pick things up, you'll probably want to do that. I'll show you, I actually have several custom animations for my character. So I've got the walks, I've got the idles in all the directions, I've got the talk in all directions, and then I have a variety of custom animations. Now, one thing I do have is the reach low in every direction, and I have two versions of the reach low. I have, let's see, I'll do the down left. I have Gabby reach low, which is her reaching low, and then she stops. Then I have reach low rise. Oops, wrong direction. Underscore DL, reach low rise. So she'll rise back up. And the reason why I have those two animations is so we can break it apart and make the inventory item disappear after she reaches low, and then have her rise after it has disappeared. Because you can't pause an animation and then create an interaction for your object to disappear. You have to separate those animations if you want that to function properly. Okay, so we're going to come back into, let's see, pull up in that window again. Okay, Hotspot, Interaction, Action List Editor, and here's our interaction. So I'm going to call upon that custom animation. Okay, and actually, I'm going to pause one more time. Sorry. In case you have not figured out how to make custom animations, it's very similar to the tutorial where we created the walk animations, the idles, the talks. You do it the same way. You come down here. So you click on your character, first of all. You expand your character so that you can see the graphic child of your character. I'm clicking on the graphic because that is where our animations are linked to, the graphic, not the actual object. Okay, so the graphic, and here's the list of your walks and talks and your jumps and all that. And you can come down here to create new clip. So once you choose new clip and give it a name, so I'm going to create new clip. I could give it a name in here, Gabby Reach Low, for example, and make sure it's saved in a location that you're expecting. If you have an animations folder for your character, you can put it in here. For example, I have some Reach Low animations in here already. I'm going to cancel that. Then you will have a location for your empty frames. If it's only for one direction, you don't need to do the underscore. If you want to be able to call upon these animations for any direction, you do need to add the underscore. So let me find my reach low down left again. Underscore DL for down left. You know, again, if you don't understand the underscore, refer to the first tutorial in setting up your character. Otherwise, you can do a single animation regardless of direction. Or I think I have a ring bell in here that she's only going to be ringing a bell from one direction. Climb ladder, ring bell prep, ring bell finish. So here's the ring bell. So I only want her to do this in one direction, so I didn't bother to add all the extra directions. Okay. Gab reach low underscore DL. All right. So you would just, let's see, I'm going to find those frames. You get the frames that you need. You drag them into your animation timeline. You set the speed. If you made your animations according to 24 frames per second, you just type a 24 in there, but you can test it. Press play to test out your animation, make adjustments as needed, and it will be in here ready for you to call upon in your action list editor as you are working on your game. So I'm going to pull that open one last time. Hotspot. Here's my interaction. Action list editor. Okay, so I just wanted you to understand what I am calling upon here as we put it all together. Character, animate is player, play custom, and the clip. The only one of the complaints I do have is anytime you actually have to type out an exact name. I wish I could link it to the real thing, maybe drag it in and get the actual animation without having to worry about having a typo. I don't always type exactly what I'm hoping to type. All right, so my animation is Gabby, reach low, and I'll add directional suffix here. If you don't want it to refer to your underscore, you can just uncheck this. But if you do have the underscores on there, you need to honor that by checking this box. I'm going to wait until finish. And uncheck return to idle. I want her to just sit there and hold that pose. Okay, a few more things for this interaction to work. Next, we need to make the object disappear. Object. You can click on this small little button here. You can get this lovely little window that pops up. And one thing that I do like is you can reposition the window to pop up wherever you want. So after you close it, the previous place that you had it and the previous size, that's where it will be. I'm going to click here, and we need the shell. It's in my scene. Shell, right here. There it is. If you don't want to do it this way, you can do it this way. You can drag it in this way. So that's where the game object is. Okay. We've got our dialogue. She faces the direction. She reaches low. We are going to object visibility, shell, invisible. Okay, after that, we can go to our character and do the second half of the animation, character animate, play custom, Gabby reach low rise, add directional suffix. So that's the second half of the animation that I made where she actually stands back up. Wait until finish. She can return to idle after that. Then there's just one more thing that we need to do. Hotspot. Enable or disable. Hotspot shell. Or I could have drug it in as well. Hotspot shell. Disable. Because once the object disappears, we don't want to be able to click in that area and her saying, oh, there's a shell, oh, there's a shell, because the shell is gone. So I'm going to disable that. Disable. All right. Moment of truth. Let's test it out. Unity bug reporter. Oh, we crashed. Okay, Unity crashed. Oh, let's see what's saved. Maybe nothing. Oh, nothing. All right. I'm going to open that scene. Jewel Shore. This one. We've got our shell, hopefully still in here. Shell. Yep. Fast forward version. And now we'll put a little bit of dialogue. Dialogue, play speech, is player. It's a small shell. Done. Let's test it. That shell's too big. Just a second. I know, most important thing, right? I want to be engrossed in the moment, not worried about how large that shell is. Okay, try again. Okay, let's inspect. Oh, and we didn't add inventory either. Okay, we're missing a couple crucial steps here. The shell is still visible, so we will investigate. Also, it did not add to our inventory. Oh, also, let's see if it's going to be in our inventory. I'm going to do a search for shell. Filter by name, shell. Okay, create new item. Shell. We need a texture. Shell. We need a cursor. Shell. I think we did 0.06. Okay. I'm just going to carry on, start to check that real quick. Shell. That's good. All right, so let's check our issues here. Hotspot, interaction. Here it is. Object visibility. We sent it to invisible, but we must have switched this after we assigned the object. That's another kind of pain, you need to select the action type and the parameter below it before you can set your object. So now we'll put this as shell. Had my elbow on the spacebar. Whoops. Okay, shell. Invisible. That part should be good. The hotspot gets disabled. One thing we forgot to do is add it to our inventory. I'm going to move this down here. I'm going to break this connection here. Now, here is how you add to inventory. Inventory, add or remove, add. You've got your drop down arrow. You can even start to type it in to show where it pops up. Shell. Rocket science, right? Yeah, that's easier than it should be. That was amazing. Inventory, add, shell. And the dialogue. Wait till you see what I'm going to show you next, and you're going to go cray-cray. All right, here we go. Let's test this out first of all. We're going to come over here, pick up the shell. It's a small shell. I want her to pause for a bit. That's what I'm missing. That was a really quick pickup of that shell. We're going to come back. Here's our interaction. I'm going to pull it up here. When should we have her pause? Let's see. Gab reach low. How about here? Because she should pause when she's going to inspect the item. Let's engine, wait time, not that long, maybe 0.4 of a second. Let's try that. Face the shell. Nope, still not long enough. Gab reach low, wait till finished. Let's do 0.9. It's the little things that will add realism to your scene. She paused before the animation. Character animate. Skip. That's interesting. Engine wait. Manage system. 0.9. Skip object visibility. Let's make it really long and see where our pause is. 3-second pause. That's a glitch. She's pausing before. Character animate. Play custom Gabby reach low. Wait until finish. And yet it's getting this. It must be glitching out because I have this here. It's confusing it somehow. Delete. Now this is our first action. Let's test that out. Still getting the pause. Okay. Well, this is making me curiouser and curiouser. Let's have her pause before she rises then and see if that will work. So she'll abruptly go down. Oh. Okay, I'm going to figure out this glitch. I'll be back. Okay, it was indeed a glitch. I tried a variety of things to correct it. I'll have to report that, and hopefully it'll get fixed in a future update. I did just update my Adventure Creator and my Unity, so it could be either one of those things. Okay, but I did find something that works, and it actually is our next segment that I want to go over, so I will be doing that in just a minute. Let's just pretend that it did work. I took, a few of the things I tried. I tried to put the dialogue first. I tried to put the weight at the beginning. I put the weight at a few different spots, and it just was not registering properly. It would always stick the weight first and then play everything after it, regardless of where it actually was in this list, including in the inspector window. I tried to rearrange it in here as well. So I just deleted the wait time, and I do have another solution that actually did work, so we will get to that in just a little bit. All right, so let's pretend it worked. We're just going to come over here and pretend that she waits before she picks up the shell. It appears to be a small shell. So I want her to wait before that disappears. Let's pretend that did work, because that's a glitch. So we're just going to move on with our lives, and we'll get to that later. Okay, so we also need to add one more thing to the shell. And it looks like it may have been added automatically. We want to make sure, well, it has a constant ID number. I don't know if that is specifically for visibility or not, so it won't hurt. Add the component to your object, the shell. We're going to add component remember visibility. And visibility on start is on. We want this in here because if you leave the scene or save your game and come back to it, even though you've already picked up the shell, the object may still be there. So we're adding component remember visibility so that it says, oh, well, that already disappeared. I don't need to put that object back in the scene. It can stay off. Remember visibility. I don't know if that's attached in here or not, so until I find that out for sure, let's just go ahead and add this additional component. And I'm going to check on the hotspot shell, and that should have the remember. Well, it's got the constant ID as well. I'm not positive about that one either. Let's just go ahead and add the component remember hotspot. Remember hotspot, state on start is on, and then it turns off in our script. Okay, well, those two things, just to be safe. It's not going to hurt anything if you have that in there and it's obsolete. Okay, now, I'm going to show you something that will change your life when having to do these interactions over and over and over again, and that can be for a lot of things, but one of them is reaching down and picking up inventory items and setting your animations all of those times. Now, you can just copy and paste what we've already done, which is one solution. You can select what you need and copy, and you can paste this into another location and just make the few changes. Change the object, change the hotspot, change the inventory add. However, there's a similar concept that's even easier to use, and that is action lists. Within your game folder, if you use the new game wizard, which you did if you're at this point and have followed along with any of the past tutorials, within your game folder you have a subfolder that says action lists. We've got things in here such as unhandled, look at unhandled hotspot, look at unhandled combine. Those are game-wide. These action lists can be accessed anywhere in the game. And so for example, I can create an action list that says take item, reach low, which is what we're doing here for this shell. I can add all the components that I want in this action, including, this could be useful, animating reach low. Waiting the 0.4 seconds, thank you very much. It does work in here. I have tested it, my goodness. Object to hide. Inventory to add. Hotspot to disable. Animation rise. I can put all of these things in this list, and I'll never have to assign all of these again. I only need to put in the few items, such as what is the nearby marker, what is the object to hide, what is the item to add, and what is the hotspot to disable. Those 4 things. And I don't have to deal with these big lists. I'll give you an example, then I'll show you how to make this. Hotspot, interaction. I'm just going to unlink the chain of command we just made here. I'm going to set that aside. I'm only going to do one thing. Action list. Run. Asset file. So it defaults to in scene. I'm changing that to asset file because it's game wide. Click on this button. Assets. So it defaulted to scene. Click on assets. Okay. If you can get used to doing that much, then the rest of your life is easier. Now, all I have to do is assign these 4 things, and the rest is magic jing jing. All right. Nearby marker. That would be, well, I'll do it this way because we're used to this way. Nearby marker. My shell marker. Object to hide. My shell. Item to add. The shell. Hotspot to disable. Shell. Wait until finish. Done. Test. That was much easier, and my pause, and I'll add a little bit of custom dialogue. Ta-da! And I could have done that for anything. It already had my reach low animation. It had my rise animation. It made the object disappear. It made the hotspot disappear. Done. So easy. Okay, so let's make one. I'm just going to delete this in here. We'll link this back to our action that we painstakingly made. We'll make it once more and never again. Action lists. Come to the top, Adventure Creator, and in one of these, menu item, Assets, Create, Adventure Creator, Action List. This is going to create the new action list. Got that? It's kind of hidden in there. Create new action list. All right, here it is. Let's do take item reach low test 2. Put that in here. Open it up. Double click. We're going to create our action list. And we will work, actually, we're going to work out of the inspector. Add new item. Character. Animate. Is player. Play custom. Gabby reach low. Directional suffix. Yes. Wait until finish. Do not return to idle. Done. Continue. New action. We are going to wait, engine, wait, and I did like the 0.4. Continue. Object, add a remove, remove, and we're going to leave this blank. Continue. Character, animate, play custom, Gabby reach, low, rise, use direction suffix, wait until finish, continue. So we've made add a remove. Add a remove. Let's just do the visibility. Invisible. I know that works. We'll do the invisibility. Okay. Gab reach low. Hotspot. Disable. Inventory. Add. Well, we're going to use shell, but we're going to make that editable. And might be it. Gabbage low. Object. Hide. Gabbage rise. Hotspot enable. Inventory add. Just seems too easy. Come to the top. Click Use Parameters. This is important. Use Parameters. Create new parameter. Okay, parameter number 1 is the game object. Object to hide. And what it's doing here is searching this list for possible parameters. Object to hide. New parameter. Parameter 2. Inventory item. Oh, we got to link this up here. So object to hide, this is going to be a game object. So the object to effect, we're going to do object to hide. That is now a parameter. Next, inventory, or how about hotspot, to disable. It's going to be a game object again. Hotspot to disable. Disable. You know, we are missing marker to reach. Let's put that up here. Character. Move to point. Is player. Marker to reach. Marker to reach. Wait until finish. Now we're at inventory. Inventory. Nope. Inventory, add or remove, parameter, inventory. Okay, so I hope you can understand what I'm doing here. So what I've done, I've created my action list. I am writing out what I want my action to actually do. So I have character moving to point, character reaching low, waiting 0.4 seconds, changing the visibility of my object to invisible, having my character rise, disabling the hotspot, and adding inventory. Then I checked the box that said use parameters, and so my parameters, I'm just giving them a description here. And then I am labeling the type of parameter that I'm dealing with here. So object to hide, of course, is a game object. Hotspot to disable. The hotspot is actually a game object as well. The marker is a game object. Inventory is inventory. So I was able to select inventory here. Okay, so now I just had to come down to my little actions that I've made, and I am linking them to a specific parameter. And I'm choosing those parameter here, so that my description marker to reach, that's referring to this move to point marker here. Okay, and now those are all going to be parameters within my custom action list that I can now call upon in this scene. So I'm going to come back to my hotspot. I'm going to tap on this interaction here so I can pull up my little action list window. So I'm coming into here, action type, action list, run, asset file, so changing the default from in scene to asset file, the source. Tapping here, looking in my asset list, which is game-wide, not just scene-wide, and we have created this take item reach low test 2. It's showing up here, and all I do is, I'm going to check wait until finish, and I will set these parameters. Object to hide, that would be the shell. Hotspot to disable, the shell. Marker to reach, the shell. Inventory to add, shell. Wait until finish. And I'll tack on some dialogue. Nope, she's already picked it up. She doesn't need to say it appears. It's a shell. Test. Marker to reach. Check that out once more. There's a small glitch, graphical glitch. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so do we understand the process here? Now, anytime I have an inventory object that I want to pick up, we can drop the graphic in the scene. We can put the hotspot over the graphic. You can add the remember visibility script. Put the hotspot over the shell or hotspot over your object. You can add the remember hotspot script. You can create the marker. Position the marker. You can assign the marker here. Drag it over. Then when you go to, okay, choose your cursor. when you open your interaction, when you create your action file and open your interaction, you choose action list, run, asset file, assets, your action list, set your parameters. To create the action list to begin with, we found that in assets, create adventure creator action list for a blank action list. And that shows up game folder action lists. I hope this wasn't too overwhelmingly confusing. I wanted this to be simple, but we've had some glitches that we are working through. A few more things that I will go over a little bit quicker. I probably should put them in another video, but I'm not going to. We are going to go over custom menus. So as you noticed, I've changed my default menus from the demo, and I've now made my own menus. I've got some little icons down here. I can click on them. They activate my inventory menu. All of this is customizable. Now, I'm not doing a full-on tutorial on how to create this exact menu. All I'm going to say is you create your graphic. Let's see, inventory, inspector. You create your graphic in your graphics program, save it as a PNG, drag it into Unity, into an appropriate folder, and that can be applied to a menu. Come to your game editor, open menu. I've created a new inventory menu. It's kind of patterned after the old one, so I watched the old one closely, and I kind of worked with it from there. You drag your graphic into background texture. Then it's just a matter of adjusting the parameters and settings, and you can view those in real time by tapping on the Game window tab. You cannot see them in Scene. You've got to tap over on Game, and then whatever menu you happen to be having open at the time, you can work with it there and see it in Game. So you can change things like the width and height. I think I had it at 66. Stretch that graphic out. Well, I don't remember what I had it there. Oh, darn. Well, guess I'll do it by sight. Looks pretty good. 74. Okay, then you've got things like horizontal alignment versus vertical alignment. That means your items going this way when they add or going this way when they add. You've got things like where is your menu aligned with? Is it upper left? Is it upper center? Mine is middle center. I like to change the size to manual so that I can get my my ratio here. Now this will appear to be pretty much the same in any screen format. If you choose absolute pixels, that will change the size of your menu depending on the resolution of the screen at the time, if that makes sense. So this is a proportion. This is proportional. Absolute pixels is absolute pixels. So that's going to look different depending on the resolution. So I recommend probably keeping this at manual, and you can adjust those sliders. Transition type fade. Transition time. So if you want a nice slow fade into your menu, you can slow that down. Animation type. Okay. New inventory elements. Or inventory new elements. So I've added an inventory box. shift up buttons. Okay, so here's your types here. If you're going to do a button, you can set it up this way. Tap Add New, drop your graphic in, and you can set your functions. So really, what I wanted to show you is that you can drop your texture in here. Then it's a lot of trial and error. To adjust the items in your inventory box, you'll want to click on the inventory box, max number of spots, slot spacing, you can make them closer together or farther away, orientation, grid, or vertical or horizontal. This is set to grid. And you'll want to experiment. And when you have an item that's meant for inventory, you want to keep your box at approximately a square. Your graphics, you want to keep them approximately square so that you can have more control about how they end up looking in your inventory items. Okay, I hope that's enough to get you started. Again, I'm not doing a full tutorial on your menu. This is just to get you started and sort of point you in the right direction. Now, to call upon this menu, to my inventory menu, I've got my in-game menus. So these are always here. Appear type during gameplay. That's what you want for this. So these are always here. I've got two buttons. Menu button, inventory button. Element type button. I dropped my graphic in there. I've got my alignment, middle center. Oh, actually that's for text. There is no text. It's empty. And my action list. Open inventory. I don't remember if I had to make this or not, but here's what it looks like. Menu, change state, turn on menu, menu to turn on. You type it in. Yes, fade. Yes, wait until finish. That's it. That's where this comes from. That tiny little script. Anytime you have a menu, you can program it to pop up, whether you click on something, maybe you click on a page in your inventory, whatever it might be. This is the call button for that. Action type menu. Change state. Turn on menu. Type in the exact name. Again, a pain with the name typing in, but that's the way it is. Just type in the exact name, including spaces. Your menu will pop up on your call. Custom cursors. You've probably figured this one out. It's not too difficult. You can click on Create New Icon. You drag in the graphic. Drag in your graphic. You can play with the size by getting a preview in your game. You can adjust the size. And you can call on those graphics at any time. Hotspot, cursor. You select your cursor here. One thing I do want to bring up for inventory, in your settings, you will most likely want to check this box. Combine interactions work in reverse. This will save you half of your programming. If, for example, I've got a blade that can be put into a sheath. Okay, and if I was clicking on the sheath over the blade, I would want that to do the same thing. It won't do the same thing unless you program it or unless you check this box. Just bringing that up now. Okay, now we're going to talk about variables. Now, if you haven't used variables before or don't really understand the concept, variables are what make your game smart. What makes playing an adventure game really enjoyable. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, first of all, we'll save this scene. We're going to open up another scene here. A scene with a broken bridge. Well, sort of. We've got a bridge up here that's going to need some repair. There's a place in the game to where I can bring up the broken bridge if I have seen the bridge. So if I have walked in this screen, the game knows that I have seen this bridge. So when I go to another screen in this game, to where there is a character who can possibly help me with the bridge, if I have already visited the bridge, then I want that to be one of the dialogue options. I want to be able to talk about that bridge. That is an example of what you can use a variable for. In my on-start cutscene, I have a variable that I'm setting here so that the game knows that I've seen the bridge. In your game editor window, choose variables. This will be a global variable. There are global variables and there are local variables. Global variables can be accessed game-wide. So if something happens in one scene that you want to affect the dialogue or an outcome in another scene, you need to make a global variable. If it's just within the scene, no need to clutter up your global variables, just make it a local variable. Otherwise, I've got 3 extra variables just from this one scene alone, and that starts to clutter up your big list. So first thing to do, create a new global variable. You tap here, you give it a name, Gabby sees broken bridge. Okay, and I actually already have this, so I'm just gonna delete this variable. Delete. So here it is up here. Gabby looks at broken bridge. All right. So I've got the name here. We're going to keep it at the default Boolean. It's just a simple true-false variable. It's going to start out as false. So when the game begins, we have not seen the broken bridge. When you enter the scene, we will. On start cutscene, I'm going to add that variable. I'll leave this on the side so we can access it a little easier. In our on start cutscene, now you'll just have to ignore all these other things. These are other actions. You can put this very first thing. You'll choose variable, set. It's going to be a global. You've got your list of variables. It pops right up. We gave it this name, so here it is. The new value is entered here, and we are changing it to true. That's it. So now, when I walk to a different scene, so let's see. I've got my character in this potato fields scene, and in our dialogue options, let's see, conversation, nope, interactions, where is the conversations? I've forgotten. Conversations under logic. Okay, so in the conversation that she can have with Mr. Farmer here, You'll want to open up your conversation editor, by the way, editor, conversation editor. I have some topics about the bridge. The broken bridge. Here it is. It's one of my dialog options. So when I first click on Mr. Farmer here, nope, that's the object. I believe it's the graphic I'm dealing with here. When I first click on Mr. Farmer here, and I bring up the interaction, farmer talk to, I'm going to check for that variable. Variable, check. Gabby waters crops. Oh, that's a different variable. Okay, well we're not at that point yet. Okay, false. Gabby looks at broken bridge. Compare with entered value. If it's equal to true, then I'm turning on that dialog option. Dialog, toggle option. I'm choosing my farmer conversation, dialog, ask about bridge. All right. So then that option will be available. Said it was option number 3. Farmer, I was wondering if you knew anything about the bridge going across the ravine. I've got this whole conversation in here. So this is linked to a variable. The whole point of all of that was to tell you. That's what makes your game smart. If you want to talk to somebody, but you don't want that option to be available until you've done something in the game, you want to create a variable for that. And those are in here. Another option right in this scene. Well, I can't just take something that doesn't belong to me. Perhaps I could get permission? You need a variable for that. So if I talk to the farmer about the shovel, I have that linked to a local variable, asks to take shovel. Right now it's set to false. In the conversation, when I ask about the shovel, that changes to true. So she's asking about the shovel. That has triggered ask to take shovel. It now says true. Variables. They're what make your game smart. Now I can take the shovel. I still haven't done my reach medium animations, by the way. If you want to see what that looks like buried in here, let's get our conversation up. Shovel. It's right here. Is there something you need? I was wondering if I could use the shovel. Go right ahead. Variable set. Local. Ask to take shovel. True. Variable set. Gabby interacts with shovel. Setting that now to false. And changing that dialog option to off forever. Variables. It's what makes your game smart. Global is for game-wide. Local is for scene-wide. They are all accessible in your action lists. variable set. Can have fun with global and local variables, making your game smart. And the last thing I want to cover, I hope you don't feel overwhelmed with the conversations, with variables at this point, but I do want to talk about conversations. So let's create a new conversation, and we'll talk a little bit about dialogue options and how to link them together and how to show and hide dialogue options. We're going to come over here into the game editor, scene, conversation, farmer test conversation. We'll add a new conversation. Here it is. We're going to look in the inspector, and actually, let's look in the conversation editor. You can get your conversation editor's conversation editor. Here it is. Right now, this conversation is blank. Let's add a new option. Yo Fama. Interaction. So I just tapped on the interaction and it's automatically created a new option. I'm going to click here. This is my dialogue option. Dialogue is player. Yo Fama. What up? Dialogue. Play speech is not the player. We've got farmer as an option here. Yo, Gabby, Wabby, girl. What crackin'? Okay, so we've got our first dialogue option in here. Let's add a second one. And this one will be about leaves. Create. Tap here to get that dialogue option. Dialogue is player. I be thinking about some leaves. Dialogue. Player line. Oh, not a player line. Character. Farmer. One thing that Adventure Game Studio actually has over Adventure Creator is being able to type out the dialogue and have it all linked together. It's kind of nice to be able to embed actions in between, but it's kind of a nuisance to have to like choose this every time instead of being able to type out the whole dialogue. But here is one consolation that you can do. You can copy some selected bits of dialogue, connect them together, and if you're having a longer conversation, you can just copy these and you can connect them together, and you can just put the whole conversation. I'd be thinking about some leaves. Oh, that'd be cool. Say what? Oh, you know, the leaves. Oh, that. And that's enough. I'll just delete this one. Girl, you gonna tell me about the leaves or are you gonna leave? All right, and now this is the end of the conversation, so we can, well, stop. And at this point, we have our choices. So we have Yo Fama. When it's done, return to conversation, leaves, and we will stop the conversation here. And this dialogue option, so I'm going to go on farmer test conversation, leaves, is enabled. I'm going to uncheck is enabled. And I want that option to only be available after I talk to the farmer the first time. So I'm going to tap here in my conversation, dialogue, toggle option, from the test conversation, leaves, set to on. So after she has the first conversation with farmer, the second dialogue option is now set to on. And you can control these within your dialogue action script list here. Toggle option, start speech, play conversation, play speech, wait for speech. Those are your options in there. Okay, let's take a look at that. Oh, I don't have anything that calls that up yet. All right, let's temporarily farmer scene. I'm temporarily going to so when she talks to the farmer, let's okay, we're going to leave all of that. We're going to leave this part in here. And as you can see, I have the character, I have the farmer animating. I have a dig end animation where he puts his pickaxe down and he wipes the sweat off his brow. And here is where the conversation starts. And we're just going to temporarily change this to our test conversation. Okay, we're going to come over here. We're going to talk to the farmer. Greetings, Mr. Farmer. Got our animation and our new dialogue list. Yo, farmer. Yo, farmer, what up? Yo, Gabby, you happy girl? What crackin'? And we have our new option, leaves. I be thinking about some leaves. Oh, that'd be cool. Say what? Oh, that. Mm-hmm. Girl, you gonna tell me about the leaves or are you gonna leave? Oh, burn! And so that ends the conversation. Okay, that's just a quick little crash course on how to start your conversations. You come in here, game editor, conversation. You'll get a new conversation over here. You can come into your conversation editor and you can add your options. Subject. After you add your option, you tap here for your interaction. You can say what happens in here. There can be an exchange of inventory items. There can be a variable set, and you can just have fun with your game and making it smarter and smarter. Now, before I do any permanent damage, I need to come back into my interaction with the farmer. Okay, farmer. And I'm just going to change that back to my original dialogue because that conversation is beyond ridiculous. There. And this one can be deleted forever. And these dialogue options can be deleted forever. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover today. This is a little more convoluted than I was hoping. It's not as clear and concise, but hopefully you've had a little bit of experience with Adventure Creator already, so that when you're coming to this video, it's not going to be quite so overwhelming. You're hopefully a little more familiar with it. The videos to get you started are my Adventure Creator 2D game tutorial, or looking at some of my background animations, or updating the software. All of those videos I've done already. Or of course you can find some original videos from the creator of Adventure Creator. He has quite a few videos as well. This is just sort of like an alternative focusing in on getting started and applying these to your specific games. Hope your game is going great, and we will see you next time. Like and subscribe below if you haven't already. If you appreciated this video and you want to see more videos with game design or with adventure game creation, specifically using Adventure Creator, or even creation of art assets, let me know in the comments below and give the video a like, and we will hopefully see you soon. Thanks.